Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jataka number 288. Mak Udana Jataka. Who could believe the story, etc. This story the master told at Jetavana monastery about a dishonest merchant. The circumstances have been told above. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the bodhisattva was born in the family of a landed proprietor. When he grew up, he became a wealthy man. He had a young brother. Afterwards their father died. They determined to arrange some business of their father's. This took them to a village, where they were paid 1,000 pieces of money. On their way back, as they waited on a riverbank for the boat, they ate a meal out of a leaf pottle. The bodhisattva threw what he left into the Ganges for the fishes, giving the merit to the river spirit. The spirit accepted this with gratification, which increased her divine power, and on thinking over this increase of her power, became aware what had happened. The bodhisattva laid his upper garment upon the sand, and there he lay down and went to sleep. Now the young brother was of a rather stealing nature. He wanted to filch the money from the bodhisattva and keep it himself. So he packed a parcel of gravel to look like the parcel of money, and put them both away. When they had got aboard, and were come to mid-river, the younger stumbled against the side of the boat, and dropped overboard the parcel of gravel, as he thought, but really the money. "Brother, the money's overboard," he cried. "What's to be done? What can we do? What's gone is gone." "Never mind about it," replied the other. But the river spirit thought how pleased she had been with the merit she had received, and how her divine power had been increased, and resolved to take care of his property. So by her power she made a big-mouthed fish swallow the parcel, and took care of it herself. When the thief got home, he chuckled over the trick he had served his brother, and undid the remaining parcel. There was nothing but gravel to be seen. His heart dried up. He fell on his bed, and clutched the bedstead. Now some fishermen just then cast their nets for a catch. By power of the river spirit, this fish fell into the net. The fishers took it to town to sell. People asked what the price was. 1,000 pieces and 7 annas, said the fisherman. Everybody made fun of them. "We have seen a fish offered for 1,000 pieces." They laughed. The fishers brought their fish to the bodhisattva's door, and asked him to buy it. "What's the price?" he asked. "You may have it for 7 annas, they said. "What did you ask other people for it?" "From other people we asked 1,000 rupees and 7 alms. "But you may have it for 7 arenas, they said. He paid 7 arenas for it, and sent it to his wife. She cut it open, and there was the parcel of money. She called the bodhisattva. He gave a look, and recognizing his mark, knew it for his own. Thought he, these fishers asked other people the price of 1,000 rupees and 7 annas, but because the 1,000 rupees were mine, they let me have it for 7 annas only. If a man does not understand the meaning of this, nothing will ever make him believe." And then he repeated the first stanza. Who could believe the story, where he told, that fishes for 1,000 should be sold? "They're 7 pence to me. How I could wish to buy a whole string of this kind of fish." When he had said this, he wondered how it was that he had recovered his money. At the moment the river spirit hovered invisibly in the air, and said, "I am the spirit of the Ganges. You gave the remains of your meal to the fishers, and let me have the merit. Therefore I have taken care of your property." And she repeated a stanza. "You fed the fish, and gave a gift to me. This I remember, and your piety." Then the spirit told about the mean trick which the younger brother had played. Then she added, "There he lies, with his heart dried up within him. There is no prosperity for the cheat. But I have brought you your own, and I warn you not to lose it. Don't give it to your young thief of a brother, but keep it all yourself." Then she repeated the third stanza. "There's no good fortune for the wicked heart, and in the fairies' respect he has no part. Who cheats his brother of paternal wealth and works out evil deeds by craft and stealth. Thus spoke the spirit, not wishing that the treacherous villain should receive the money. But the bodhisattva said, "That is impossible," and all the same sent the brother 500. After this discourse, the master explained the truths, at the conclusion of which the merchant entered upon the fruition of the first path, and identified the birth. At that time the younger brother was the dishonest merchant, but the elder was I myself. Source: adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rhys. Jataka number 289. Nana Kanda Jataka. We live in one house, etc. This story the master told in Jetavana monastery, about the venerable Ananda's taking a valuable article. The circumstances will be explained in the Junha birth. Now once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva was born as the son of his queen wife. He grew up, and was educated at Taxila, and became king on his father's death. There was a family priest of his father's who had been removed from his post, and being very poor lived in an old house. One night it happened that the king was walking about the city in disguise, to explore it. Some thieves, their work done, had been drinking in a wine shop, and were carrying some more liquor home in a jar. They saw him there in the street, and crying, "Hello, who are you?" They knocked him down, and took his upper robe. Then, they picked up the jar, and off they went, scaring him the while. The aforesaid Brahmin was by chance at the time to be in the street observing the constellations. He saw how the king had fallen into unfriendly hands, and called to his wife. Quickly she came, asking what it was. Said he, "Wife, our king has got into the hands of his enemies." "Why, your reverence," said she, "what dealings have you with the king? His Brahmins will see to it." This the king heard, and, going on a little, called out to the rascals, "I'm a poor man, masters, take my robe and let me go." As he said this again and again, they let him go out of pity. He took note of the place they lived in, and turned back again. Said the Brahmin to his wife, "Wife, our king has got away from the hands of his enemies." The king heard this as before, and entered his palace. When dawn came, the king summoned his Brahmins, and asked them a question. "Have you been taking observations?" "Yes, my lord." "Was it lucky or unlucky?" "Lucky, my lord." "No eclipse?" "No, my lord, none." Said the king, "Go and fetch me the Brahmin from such and such a house," giving them directions. So they fetched the old priest, and the king proceeded to question him. "Did you take observations last night, master?" "Yes, my lord, I did." "Was there any eclipse?" "Yes, my lord." "Last night you fell into the hands of your enemies, and in a moment you got free again." The king said, "That is the kind of man a stargazer should be." He dismissed the other Brahmins. He told the old one that he was pleased with him, and told him to ask a boon. The man asked leave to consult with his family, and the king allowed him. The man summoned wife and son, daughter-in-law and maidservant, and laid the matter before them. "The king has granted me a boon. What shall I ask?" Said the wife, "Get me 100 milking cows." The son, named Chatta, said, "For me, a chariot drawn by fine lily-white thoroughbreds." Then the daughter-in-law, "For me, all manner of trinkets, earrings set with gems, and so on." And the maidservant, "For me, a pestle and mortar, and a filter basket." The Brahmin himself wanted to have the revenue of a village as his boon. So when he returned to the king, and the king wanted to know whether his wife had been asked, the Brahmin replied, "Yes, my lord king. But those who are asked are not all of one mind." And he repeated a couple of stanzas. "We live in one house, O king, but we don't all want the same thing. My wife's wish, 100 cows. A prosperous village is mine. The student's of course is a carriage and horses, our girl wants an earring fine. While poor little Punna, the maid, wants pestle and mortar, she said. All right, said the king, they shall all have what they want. And repeated the remaining lines. Give 100 cows to the wife, to the goodman a village for life, and a jeweled earring to the daughter. A carriage and pair be the student's share, and the maid gets her pestle and mortar. Thus the king gave the Brahmin what he wished, and great honor besides. And asking him from then busy himself about the king's business, he kept the Brahmin in attendance upon himself. When the master had ended this discourse, he identified the birth. At that time the Brahmin was Ananda, but the king was I myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rhys. Jataka number 290. Sila Vimamsa Jataka. Virtue is lovely, etc. This story the master told at Jetavana monastery, about a Brahmin who put his reputation to the test. The circumstances which gave rise to it, and the story itself, are both given in the Salavamamsa birth tale, in the first book. Here, as before when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, his priest resolved to test his own reputation for virtue, and on 2 days took a coin from the treasurer's counter. On the 3rd day they dragged him to the king, and accused him of theft. On the way he noticed some snake charmers making a snake dance. The king asked him what he had done such a thing for. The Brahmin replied, to try my reputation for virtue. And went on, virtue is lovely, so the people deem virtue in all the world is held supreme. See, this deadly snake they do not kill, for he is good, they say. Here I proclaim how virtue is all blessed and lovely in the world. Of which possessed he that is virtuous always is said perfection's path to walk. To family dear, he shines among his friends. And when his union with the body ends, he that to practice virtue has been happily in heaven is born again. Having thus in 3 stanzas stated the beauty of virtue and gave discourse to them, the bodhisattva went on, Great king, a great deal has been given to you by my family, my father's property, my mother's, and what I have gained myself. There is no end to it. But I took these coins from the treasury to try my own value. Now I see how worthless in this world is birth and lineage, blood and family, and how much the best is virtue. I will embrace the religious life. Allow me to do so. After many requests, the king at last consented. He left the worldly life, and retired to Himalaya, where he took to the religious life, and cultivated the faculties and the attainments until he came to Brahma's world. When the master had ended this discourse, he identified the birth. At that time the Brahmin priest who tried his reputation for virtue was I myself.